Thank you, my friend. Thank you, my friend. This is Michael, and welcome to our live stream. Today, we are focusing on healing and transforming rage through mirroring practice. So, I hope to give you some good chunks that you can work with. Make sure I'm doing okay. And if you're here, please connect with me. Say something in the chat. And if you're watching it live, and if you're watching it as a recording, thank you for engaging, and may this help you in some way. And please look at some of the other videos as well that will go into topics related to mirroring. I just put out a great one that's focused on the 4 key practices behind mirroring: sending, receiving, validation, and reflection. So take a look at that one. And great to know that you're watching and you're engaging. So let's focus. I'm sorry, I'm still a little. You're doing that good. That'll work. Terrific. So what I'll do is I'll start with some concepts so that you guys can really get some structured ideas that apply to you. The first thing we want to look at is the idea of the emotional scale, the awareness of different levels of emotions, where rage is on that emotional scale, what I mean by that, and then doing some ideas and exercises and practice of mirroring that'll help maybe move some of whatever we have going on. So now, first things first, the idea of emotional scale, different emotional zones, almost like primary colors, yellow, green, yellow and red and blue are certain color frequencies. Well, I've got this arranged by hand, and I'll be doing this as often as possible so that you could remember. Despair is on the bottom. So despair is an emotional place where it's like severe depression, can't leave bed, losing hope, or even having such dominance of despair that it's as if you have to become somebody else, a false self, in order to exist, that to create a sort of narcissistic version of yourself. Despair. You go up one level, we're in anxiety. That is a high functioning version of despair, I guess you'd call it, is where we're going in multiple directions at once. We can function, but there's something that is not aligned about what we're at. Where like the kind of thing of, I hate this job, I have to have this job, deep inner struggle that has intensity to it. That's when we're at anxiety. We go up another level now, we're at rage. And when I say rage is like intolerance, deep frustration. It's the feeling that we have when we have been hurt by somebody. And that hasn't been processed. So it's the feeling that we have of that intense hurt and suffering that happens when something has happened to us. Maybe in the past we haven't processed it, maybe recently, but we know, for example, that we might be in a dominance of rage if I would know if somebody say I send a text and they send a text back and immediately they're complaining at the beginning of the text. Well, that's when the person has that dominance of unprocessed intolerance about life. And it's right on the surface, and it's deep below the surface too. That's what we're talking about right here. We go out one more level, we get into sadness. It's like the storm, the release, the cry, the feeling of relief that happens when these difficult, intolerable feelings are transforming. And up one more level, we're in calm, where I say that we're more connected to nature, or we're connected to the forest, meaning that we have an inner calm, a feeling of safety within ourselves, and that we may enjoy life, feel ease, peace, prosperity up here. So this is a very important place of realization that we may have intolerance operating for us on the inside. And if we don't become conscious of it, then it's going to fester inside, develop ultimately into certainly reactive patterns, maybe even into disease and into self-betraying actions, which is not what we want. So we want to really understand how to work with that. So before we do our mirroring, I'm going to read you a little bit from a couple of paragraphs from my book, The Zen of Solo Travel, A Journey from Anxiety to Enlightenment. I'm very proud of this book, and it was self-published about 10 years ago. And so the section is, there's 3 parts of the book. This is a book of a solo journey that I took to Japan in 2005, one that became an awakening, leading to me becoming a father, leading to me going through a lot of change and handling a lot of inner intolerance and certainly the belief in self and the surviving traumatic childhood, a traumatic father, and going through this trip in order to have this awakening. Now, each chapter has an introduction about an idea, and then you watch me go in Japan and sort of discover that idea. So this chapter is chapter 25. I call it Singing. And the reason I call it that, now we're on to part 3, where I've gone part 1, the leaving of everything behind and arriving in Japan. Part 2 of me going through everything and awakening into myself while I'm in Japan. And then part 3, like coming into this new sense of self and a sense of voice and freedom of voice that I found, and I called that singing while I was in Japan. Here's the example that I talk about in the introduction. So chapter 25, Singing. The expression of your voice heals the world. Eddie Vedder, I hope you guys know from Pearl Jam. Eddie Vedder is the lead singer of the rock band Pearl Jam. In his song Alive, he sings about carrying the burden of truth since the age of 13. He finds out that the man who raised him in an abusive home was actually not his father. Then he learns that another man he knew from a distance actually was his real father, and that man had just died. So right away, this narrative shows us Eddie Vedder in this sort of biographical song where his rage comes from, of being betrayed and having now being knowing the facts and losing his father. It's going to awaken that intolerance, that frustration, that, level 3 here, middle finger of rage. Okay. So he sings in the song, "Whoa, I'm still alive, but do I deserve to be?" So in his singing, it's kind of an expression of the immense difficulty of the feeling that he had inside. Again, I would connect that to that level 3 place on the emotional scale. He expresses his pain openly, clearing the agony through the singing of his song. Now, concert audiences around the world echoed his words, singing his song back, making it their own. "Whoa, I'm still alive," they sang. And over the years, they erased his pain, lifting the curse of his childhood, setting him free. Our song expresses the voice of our truth. Hearing our voice, a waiting audience is awakened. In receiving our song, the audience changes our lives. Now, thank you for listening to that. Clearly hearing this information, being betrayed, losing your parent, everything, not knowing who to trust. These are the kinds of things that he went through that led to this eruption of rage. I'm still alive, but do I deserve to be? These are things you may connect to. These are issues that I certainly connect to, of where my rage and frustration and intolerance originated from, which evolved into post-traumatic stress disorder starting in childhood. Very, very intense, suffering with it for many years. But what happened is his expression of it, his send, concert after concert after concert of the expression of his truth, was received by the audience. Again, sending and receiving. And the audience sang it back. They heard the words, "Whoa, I'm still alive." But in the receiving it, it became their song, not their agony. It became their lyrics. They received his words and they took it on and let themselves be part of the song, receive his song. And in him hearing those words back, he literally tells audiences, "That set the curse, set me free from the curse." So that process of mirroring expression, the honest, clear send, and and the receptivity of the send by, in this case, an audience. But in our case, it could be certainly ourselves in our own journaling and practice, or if we have a partner, you work with me, the ability for somebody to receive, to notice, to witness, to hear the truth of the voice of that rage moves that rage up the scale, moves that rage from dominant and intolerable into sadness and relief. And we can practice some of that right now. I hope this is making sense to you. If you have any questions, you can send them in the comment section. You could get back to me, go to my website, michaeljasonsherman.com. Everything's in the description. But what I want to do right now is let's take a moment and practice some mirroring so that maybe there'll be some element of healing for you right now simply through this practice. Okay, so I want you to do this mirroring. You're going to mirror back, say out loud the affirmations that I offer you with the intent that this is going to give you some relief and some healing with whatever deep frustrations you have going on. Taking a breath and just being with me, being okay with the moment. And as we begin, only mirror back out loud what I'm saying as if you're the one saying it. If you can't say it, then change it or don't say it. But I'm going to offer you these affirmations. Say them back to yourself out loud as if you're the one who is saying them. I'm just giving you the lines. So let's begin. There are things in my life that bring me deep frustration. Mirror that back. Some of these things happened a long time ago. This means mirror back. And some of these things happened recently. This is me noticing the frustration that exists within me. Mirroring that. Just going slow and taking a breath. Not trying to trigger you into a rage. What we're trying to do is simply notice what might be there. So once again, this is me noticing intolerable feelings within. This is me allowing myself to simply notice without judgment. Mirror that back. It makes sense to me that these feelings would be there. It makes sense to me that these feelings are uncomfortable. I don't have to change anything. This practice is about simply noticing. This practice is about me receiving myself. When I receive myself, I make sense to myself. Very good. So good practice. Again, what we're going for is that you don't have to think that I'm offering you the words, I'm offering you the send, and then in you receiving back, by mirroring back those words out loud, keeping them very general, keeping them focused on noticing and receiving, then that gives you a sense to actually be in your body about whatever feelings, uncomfortable, intolerable, frustrating feelings may be there in different subjects without fixing them, without working them out, without getting tips. What we're doing is we're being mindful and aware of the feeling themselves. And I hope that that is valuable to you, that you're getting, oh, all I need to do is really sit with the fullness of the feeling, and the feeling may move. And I hope it has on some level. And let me know what that little piece did for you. Maybe let's go a little bit deeper with the mirroring. Let's just go right back into it and go. Starting again, going slow and maybe repeating some things, but just staying with me, because it's the interaction and the collaboration where the healing really happens. Okay, so let's try this. Michael is my collaborator. He wants to provide a healing. When I mirror his words and I notice difficult feelings, then I know that I'm working together on my healing. I don't have to be something other than I am. I don't have to change these feelings. I can simply collaborate with my partner and receive his words about my feelings. This is me noticing how I'm feeling right now. This is me learning to say, I can be okay with this. Good, good. Okay, so we did a little bit more mirroring in there. So take a breath. Let yourself acknowledge yourself. You did a little practice. You heard a little bit of a story. You heard some examples of here. We're trying to notice this and move it up the scale. And the moving it up the scale is not by talking you out of something and not by giving you a bunch of skills that do this, step 1, step 2, step 3. It's through the collaboration and the mirroring with me that we notice the feeling, and so the feeling, we're giving it space to be voiced and to be felt inside your body. So just taking another couple of minutes to simmer down from that. Maybe this brings up some inspiration. You want to learn more and do more looking at the videos in this channel. Maybe you're feeling good and confident. You want to connect and do more work. Then you could reach out to me. You could see the links in the description. Sign up for an intro session where you just click through the link, send me an email, an inquiry, and we write back and figure out how to connect and do this work for you via Zoom. It's a wonderful thing for you to do, is just try a session with me and feel the effect of mirroring collaboration with me and how immediately difficult feelings will move up the scale. So food for thought. I hope you consider an intro session and maybe even take a look at the book at the ZEN OF SOLO TRAVEL.com. Wonderful, wonderful book. So thank you. Please feel free to leave your comments. I appreciate you very much. And always remember to keep it moving. Thank you for watching and enjoying this learning. Thank you, my friend.